What was the move that led to the tear, to the ACL tear?
Something simple. I was
What a shame.
It was a fast break. I was going up for a layup.
Okay.
And I might have got knocked off balance in the air.
Oh my goodness.
I landed, and I knew as soon as I fell that it happened. So, yeah.
I have a feeling you're similar to me in the sense of like, as something so sudden like that happens, are you able to maintain a clear mind and like stoically move forward? I Am Consciously Curious, a podcast for those that are searching for meaning and fulfillment in their lives. My name is Victor Chan, and I'm on a mission to find out why people do what they do. I've interviewed white collar to blue collar, entrepreneurs to passion projects, and life is just too short to not produce meaningful work. Thanks for tuning in. We're live. Hello, everyone. We have Jabari Sandifer. And I honestly never thought I'd have a conversation like this. This is where my curiosity leads me. I would not describe myself as a fashionista. Sure. And I was trying to remember how I landed on your page, or maybe it was just the algorithm that led me to you. But I'm glad it did. I appreciate what I do appreciate. Obviously the entire aesthetic, but the timelessness that you're showcasing in menswear. But there's so much more to it, and that's what this episode is going to be about. And then I really appreciated the nonlinear aspect of how great you were at in collegiate basketball, and I was like, this Jabari guy, he had this whole journey mapped out, and then a knee injury happened your senior year. So without going too far, welcome to the show, Jabari. It's really, really nice to meet you. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
As a very easy opener, how has 2025 been going for you?
It's been going great. I think I'm really coming into, starting off with my content and stuff. It's been such a interesting journey. I started making content maybe 2 years ago. And it seems like over the past 6 months, it's so many interesting and crazy things are happening that I would have never expected, So
wow.
It's been pretty cool.
So it's only been, but you've been styling for almost 6 years, almost 7 years, right?
Yeah. Since I got out of college, I kind of jumped into personal styling, a little bit of editorial stuff.
Sure.
And I decided a couple of years ago that I wanted to start making content and talking about stuff that I've learned. Just connecting with people.
Okay. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead too far, but the most recent post was a branded post with Mazda. Mm. I had the CX-50 for a very short amount of time, and then I just missed sitting higher, so I bought a 4Runner.
Okay.
But while I had it, it was zippy. I enjoyed the space and how functional it was. I liked the aesthetic of the blinkers.
Absolutely.
And how they kind of wink at you. And then I like the heads up display. It had everything. And honestly had everything. I just missed sitting higher.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure we'll get there eventually as far as branded content and things like that. But I want you to, if you can, reflect on some of the earlier moments of how styling was maybe an outlet for creative expression or just a way to personalize who you are.
Sure. So I guess going back pretty far, I've been into just clothes in general and kind of expressing myself through clothes for, since middle school probably. I was really into, some celebrities and stuff and how they dressed, and I kind of wanted to bring that into my school where there weren't too many people who were interested in it, right? I went to a pretty, my school wasn't super diverse.
Okay.
And I liked being able to have that subculture of music and fashion and amongst my close friend group. And one of my really good friends had an older brother who would come to the city a lot, and he would bring us, he would talk to us about brands that he learned about and stuff. And, that was kind of my foray into learning about new brands and just getting a deeper interest in it. And then, fast forward to college, I was, I started buying my own clothes and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it was interesting because like friends would ask me like style advice and stuff, and my teammates and my, friends from home, they'd ask me questions, and that's kind of where I started to think like, oh, maybe I can do something with this. I don't know, whatever it is,
Okay. So it just, you speaking about at such an early age, I remember the only reason why I would want certain brands is to look like maybe people that I wanted to model and people that I wanted to associate with. And I was, it was immature, it was naive at the time. And I did not, to be honest, come into my own until my mid-20s.
Sure.
And so I was just kind of following trends per se. And I picked up seasonal jobs at Hollister, and there was that huge Abercrombie Hollister trend back in the day. Yeah. Now, what is interesting is that the lack of diversity were there clothing trends in your high school as well? And that being said, what you were trying to do, were you trying to just kind of stay to who you are, or was there anything you were trying to model as well?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of both. It's funny, a lot of the kids what was cool in my school was that Hollister and Abercrombie,
right.
back then. And I didn't want to look like everyone else.
Okay.
Right? I guess I already didn't, but I didn't want to dress like everyone else. I was never interested in going into those stores and shopping there. I always liked some sort of streetwear. Like I mentioned, basketball was a huge part of my life. So like basketball culture, hip hop culture. I also really loved skate culture, even though I didn't skate, but like I liked it because it felt like hip hop to me, right? It was like this kind of counterculture that I really liked. I liked watching skate videos and stuff when I was younger. So all those things kind of had influences on me and in my early days, which is kind of, shaped into who I am today, as far as style wise, at least.
Did you have siblings?
I did. I have an older sister.
Sister. And then did the parents have any like comments or reflections on your style?
No, it's funny. My mom will tell this story about the difference between me and my sister. They would give us like money to go shopping for school when we were younger. And my sister would be like, oh, she'd go find like, 5 pairs of jeans, a couple of shirts and all this stuff. And then Jabari, he'll have like 2 things because I was so specific about what I wanted,
Okay.
And sometimes it'd be a bit more expensive, even back then, which is so funny to think about. But I was just so particular. I knew what I wanted. So it kind of started from an early age, I guess.
And was it always like that? I kind of think it was, if it was so young.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say like probably starting in middle school. That's when I really started to, be really specific about what I wanted. I guess.
And that's a very recent thing for me in the sense of investing in pieces that not just look timeless, but will last the test of time, or that will last a long time for me. But in my younger days, like, I don't think about functionality. I don't think about, is this going to last a long time? I'm just like, is people going to like the look that I'm in?
Sure.
Type thing. What would you attribute how strong your convictions are in your self-identity? Like, if you were to describe like when you came into your own, or when you started to think about who Jabari was as a person, not just a basketball player, not just a son or a brother, like, was that early on as well for you?
I'd say that's more recent, more like college, I guess. Okay. Being good at a sport early on, there's a lot of expectations from everyone around you.
Sure.
And I've always loved basketball, but that was my identity for such a long time. Right. And when I got hurt my senior year in college, I was like, I kind of had to start thinking about life differently. It's like, okay, like basketball isn't the end all be all. I have to figure out what else I would like to do with my life, because it can be taken away from you just like that. Right. Which it was. I did have aspirations of playing professionally in some capacity overseas. But, as the more I reflected during the time that I was injured, I was like, maybe I'm just going to go start my life and do something different. And, like I mentioned before, I had to keep, during that time is when I really did a lot of self-reflection and like, hey, like, I don't have to take this traditional route that maybe my parents took, that maybe my peers are going to take, whether that's like, get out of college, go straight into corporate America. I wanted to kind of forge my own path. And that's kind of what I did. I had a business degree, but I got out of college and went into retail, right? I started working for a clothing store because I wanted to be in fashion. And from everything I read, it's like you got to start at the ground floor, work in retail so you can learn about customers and, what they like, which I got an opportunity to do, which is kind of cool. And, it's funny, I haven't thought about that in a long time. Working in a menswear store and learning about what customers liked, how they liked stuff to fit. That was like a really great foundational knowledge that I still use with me today. So, and it's funny, if you ask my parents, they think I'm so hard-headed because not hard-headed, they support me so much, but they're like, Jabari's going to do what he wants to do, and it's working out for me now, which is really cool, even though it kind of seems like it's taken a long time, but.
So how would you, did they do their best as far as providing options for you, or would they almost blindly support you in any endeavor that you were going after?
Yeah, I mean, I have the most supportive family ever with everything I've ever done. They went to all of my basketball games. They support me and now in what I'm pursuing, and even like my extended family. They're great. So it really is no matter what. They're always just like, they'll give their opinion and be like, hey, like, have you thought about this? And I'm like, yeah, and I consider their opinion, of course. So they're so supportive of me.
Sure. How did you land in the business degree? Was that something like, I can see it just being an option because you just needed to get through school. Was there any scholarship tied to basketball from high school, or did you have some intention behind actually a business degree might be actually pretty functional?
Sure. So I did get a scholarship for basketball, which was, a huge blessing, but I decided to go in business early on just because I thought it was pretty general and I could do kind of anything with it. I like the idea of entrepreneurship in some capacity. So I think having a business, which I kind of do have a business mindset about it too, right? I thought it would be something easy to fall back on if I needed to. It's pretty general, and I like kind of learning about business too. Yeah, because it's how the world operates, right? So,
what did your parents do? Were they entrepreneurial as well, or?
No, not necessarily. My mom is in HR. She's the head of HR for a company, and my dad worked in electrical construction actually for ComEd until he retired a couple of years ago. So, two polar opposite kind of. Like my dad's a union guy, my mom's a corporate woman, and it was actually kind of cool having that juxtaposition in the house too.
Yeah. But are they able to wrap their heads around how expansive and almost limitless entrepreneurism it can be?
I think they're starting to, we have entrepreneurs in our family, right? Okay. So they understand it to some capacity, right? And I think they're seeing how many opportunities that are coming to me, right? Through what I'm pursuing, and I'm showing them that's possible, right? To do this, and that I'm making strides towards it, I guess.
Right. And then would you dress yourself really well, like pre-game, kind of like the NBA athletes do? Does that check out for collegiate sports as well?
I think it's less important in college, right? Maybe it's not important to people in general, but depending on what school you're at, we had to wear our school stuff. We had to wear we sort of had to match in a way.
I see.
Before games. And I think a lot of programs do that. So it's like they'll just wear their warm-ups before, you know what I mean? So it's nothing crazy.
So it was very much so just on your personal time when you would use the opportunity to dress up per se?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Just hanging out with friends, at school, whatever, going out on the weekends, doing that stuff. So.
And was it always kind of streetwear fashion, or was it, a night out versus like a night in, and like, is that everything in between type fashion?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say in college, it was definitely more streetwear focused. Okay. I was pretty thrifty back then too, even though I still am. I love vintage clothing. Thrifted a lot, went to Goodwill, tried to piece stuff together because, broke college kids don't have too many options. So
Sure. And I guess like what did it do for you? in the sense, like in the functional form, like how you dress is kind of like an outward expression of what your internal mind is, kind of like a similar to as an analogy to like a clear table is a clear mind type thing.
Sure.
One of our students recently, I think she just has so much on her plate, but she came in, hair was just, I think she rolled out of bed, kind of still in pajamas and just very flustered. And I think of her as maybe she's just poor time management. But when I see someone who's well dressed, it's just, and even just you smelled nice. It's just like all that stuff. It's like there's care. There's care behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the foundation kind of dressing well, right?
Yeah.
It's like you have to care, right? And it's funny. People in like the fashion community want this. I look like I'm trying, but I'm not trying that hard. You know what I'm saying? It's like finding that balance of not looking like you're trying too hard, but still looking really put together. That's what I try to accomplish, I guess.
Yeah. So caring leads to how you carry yourself. Do you find that even inspires or motivates people around you to care about themselves more?
You know, I would like to think so. You know, I mean, like I said, a lot of people in my peers still talk to me about clothes because they know that I know a lot about it and that I'm interested in it. And I've shared so much information, right, through my social media. I do think it inspires them, and I hope it does, right? That's kind of my goal. I want to inspire people as much as I can, you know, through my style and through how much I take care of myself. In general. Through
this vessel, do you feel like the core skill of discipline was cultivated and then that bled into every other facet of your life?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Not to keep going back to basketball, but that taught me so much discipline. It was my entire life. I missed out on so much. I had to miss out on so much stuff in high school that a lot of my peers got to do. Had to travel a lot. Had to miss school when I was in college. It requires a different level of discipline, and working out and staying in shape and all that stuff. And it's stuff that I still carry with me today. Like I'm still super disciplined with my workout regimens and how I eat, because I want to look good in my clothes too. Right. So yeah, I think it motivates me to work hard with everything, you know, because I know I've seen how discipline can give you the results that you want. Right. It's been proven to me before. So I keep that at the forefront of my mind all the time.
Sure. Did you have like a balanced mindset or lifestyle about what school and this business degree is going to do for you leading up to senior year, or was it not until that knee injury when you started to think about and reorganize your life a little bit? Was it pretty much basketball until then? Yeah,
I mean, I'll say that unlike some like huge college schools like, you know, Duke, Kentucky, all those huge big high major schools, school has to be part of your life, right? Those guys are expected to go play professionally. I went to a small Division I school that, you know, odds are that we're going to have to go get a job afterwards, right? I did have various teammates that played overseas, played professionally.
With the prospect of coming back home to end the NBA, or is that what it is? Like just go play abroad.
So it kind of just depends, right? A lot of guys will play overseas for their career. Like he wasn't a teammate, but he's someone I grew up with that's been playing overseas for over 10 years. And you know, they make great money. So it's a really good, it's really something great to do if you don't make it to the NBA, because the NBA is, you know, I don't think people understand how hard it is to make it to the NBA. It's the best players in the world. So, overseas is a great option for a lot of people. They can make great money. And, but you know, there's different levels to it too. It's probably a lot to go into, but, I kind of knew that, you know, especially after I got hurt, I was like, I got to figure this out. And I always took school seriously though. So I had good grades, and, you know, school came relatively easy to me, which was also good. So, I knew I'd figure it out afterwards anyway. So,
well, that's kind of telling. Like school, or specifically business, came pretty naturally to you.
Yeah. You know, I've always had like a math mind, like I'm good at math. And you know, some of the classes that get people like calculus and stuff, like, you know, I did fine in. And, yeah, so school was never super hard. So
Okay.
that was, which is a
Did
blessing too.
you ever have previous injuries?
I did. Nothing obviously as significant as my ACL, but I had a couple ankle things in high school that had some minor surgery, nothing crazy, but nothing that kept me out like super long.
What was the move that led to the tear, to the ACL tear?
Something simple. I was
What a shame.
it was just like, it was a fast break. I was going up for a layup.
Okay.
And I might've got knocked off balance in the
Oh
air.
my
I
goodness.
landed and, I knew as soon as I fell that it happened. So, yeah.
I have a feeling you're similar to me in the sense of like, as something so sudden like that happens, are you able to maintain a clear mind and like stoically move forward?
I'll say it took a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pretty distraught afterwards for a while.
Sure.
Especially, you know, and I think it's tough when you spend so much time in putting so much energy into something, and then to have it just be gone, right, immediately, is tough. You know, knowing that I could help my teammates in games was tough. But I think I quickly got to a point, probably quicker than a lot of people, to where I'm like, okay, this is a situation. I got to move on.
Did anything help during that time?
Just spending time with myself, I think.
Okay. Like if you were listening to anything or reading anything or people around you or...
I mean, definitely people around me. Like I said, my parents and my family are super supportive.
Gotcha.
You know, like you'll get through this. And, but I spent a lot of time with myself. Right. And
were you living like on campus or...
Yeah, it was a mix of both.
Okay.
I was on campus, but then when I actually got my surgery, I was at home for a while.
Okay.
So.
And when you mean like by yourself, what do you mean? Like just sitting in your room, or what were you doing?
Sure. I think, yeah, sitting in my room.
Maybe cultivating hobbies or cultivating like who is Jabari? You know?
Exactly. Like I started diving into more of like, yes, my hobbies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I started watching a lot of YouTube about like fashion stuff though.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting. There was a time where I really wanted like a vintage clothing store. I was doing a lot of research on that, watching some videos. There's these guys, Round 2. They actually have a store in Wicker Park right now. Super inspired by them early on.
Is it called Round 2?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I wanted a store just like that. And I watched a lot of those guys, just other various stuff online, and read a lot of GQ, still do. And just kind of diving into what I liked and trying to see who I was outside of basketball.
Yeah. Okay. So you had your head on straight by the time you graduated then.
Yeah,
and
100%.
And then you entered retail. Was this retail similar to like a Nordstrom's or a Macy's, or was it more boutique?
So I worked for Bonobos.
Yeah.
And it's actually funny because the store is tiny. It was on Armitage in Lincoln Park.
Wow.
And it was interesting. It was a small team of us. I had a really cool manager, Taylor, who I'm still really good friends with to this day. And you know, they kind of just taught me the ins and outs of what it's like to work retail. I'd never done it before. So it was cool getting that customer interaction, like I said before, learning about clothes, getting a lot of product knowledge, learning about fabrics, how stuff's supposed to fit. It was honestly a crash course, and it would have been different if I worked somewhere else, I think.
Yeah.
If I went to like a big chain like Nordstrom or it's
a volume game. Well, and how many clients would you have at a time?
It just depends. You know, like on the weekends it'd get busy. And that was another thing too. I actually had clients that I would have to follow up with, you know, weekly or whatever it was, monthly, and try to get them back in the store. So
okay.
But off the top of my head, I'm not sure how many I had. It wasn't a ton, but I had a nice little client book.
Okay. Wow. So they encouraged. Was it commission based at all?
It was not. No.
Oh, that's interesting.
It wasn't.
So where's the incentive to keep like bring your best foot forward? You know,
so we got a bonus. It wasn't commissioned.
Okay.
Like if our store did well, we all kind of got something.
I see.
But yeah, you know, I think it was part of it. I just liked it, and I enjoyed who I worked with too. So
yeah, that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
What did it lead to then? Like what avenue or vessel within fashion did that lead to?
I'll say that it made me want to pursue styling more, I think.
Okay.
During the time I was It's funny. I get a lot of DMs asking people about like how to get started in styling and stuff. And I really was like kind of just bootstrapping together shoots with one of my really good friends, LaSalle. He's a photographer in the city. I would just go find clothes, either thrifts and my own stuff. And, we would pull together photo shoots with like random, people that we found that were trying to do the same thing.
Some of your most viral content is like your probably cell phone.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's truly about the fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was early on though. Like this is way before I started making content.
Okay.
So just trying to get experience, like putting people in clothes and seeing what they like and seeing what I like, right? So yeah, that kind of led to that, right? Just trying to explore more of what this can be.
Okay. Okay. And then I guess to specify and clarify, like what I mean is like, did it lead to, cause one of your pin posts is talking about some books. Mm-hmm. And that could be color palettes. I saw there's another content creator, Dong Kim, who went to Korea and did a consultation about color palettes that worked well with his skin sure. tone. Mm-hmm. So that was very interesting to me. But then there's so much history actually that goes into it. The Ivy series is very, very interesting to me.
Yep.
So that's what I mean. Like what nooks and crannies, did you go through next?
I'll say it's kind of everything. Those books are a good example, right? This whole content thing for me, right, is about me learning, right? And me learning and sharing what I learn. That's kind of my process. It's so easy for me to spend a lot of time learning about different niches in fashion. And it's mainly stuff that I'm interested in, right? I like Ivy style. I like what it's turned into. I like the freedom and expression with that and the history behind it, how it went over into Japan, and how they interpreted it and made incredible clothes that they make now. Mm-hmm. And I also think just part of like, people in my family, right? My dad, like I said, he was in construction. Mm-hmm. So he wore Carhartt every day. And that's still one of my favorite brands, and it's due to him, cause I had Carhartts when I was a little kid. I have his old Carhartt that I still wear. My grandpas were interested in Western fashion. They watched a bunch of Westerns on TV. When I was a little kid, they'd babysit me. I sit there and watch it with them. And these are just like core memories that I have that have probably influenced me more than I think. Like right now I have a pair of cowboy boots on and like some bootcut jeans, right? So this is all stuff that I really incorporate into my personal style. Yeah. And it makes me more interested in it. So I want to learn more about it. So I'll dive deep into it. And it's really easy for me to spend a lot of time doing it because I love it, so. Yeah,
I agree. Do you think this will ever lead to your own brand, like a cut and sew type thing?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm actually working on a couple of things right now with a friend of mine. We're in the early processes of making a jacket. We're kind of starting it slow. But we have a jacket that we found a vintage reference. And we're going to try to create something similar. So it's in the process right now. So hopefully either late this year or early next year, we'll have it finished. So.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. So you have, within 2 years, you've built this community. You know that you have this opportunity to do something with this community. For some, that can be overwhelming. It's just like, what do I do with this? And how do I not sell out per se? How do I not turn myself into some machine, into some content creation machine and lose myself in this process all for the sake of money? You still have a day job outside of this?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so that I'm sure takes away a lot of that pressure.
Absolutely. And that's, I get a lot of questions about if I want to do it full time to be a content creator. And I'm not sure, maybe eventually, but I do like the stability of having a job and then being able to, it takes a lot of pressure off me when I want with content, right? It's like I'm not 100% always making it out of necessity. I'm making it out of, having fun, right? Yeah. And trying to provide real value, which is like what's always been my goal, is to provide free value for people that are interested in the same thing as me or want to be interested in it. So
it's very interesting, like tough for me to toe that line. Like at what point do you switch from documenting the process to wanting to inspire and provide value? Like with this podcast, it started as like a career centric podcast, and these days it's more of a fulfillment centric podcast, more
Sure.
like why do you do what you do, rather than what makes you a great basketball player, like what makes you a great stylist. It's like I'm not trying to teach someone how to become a stylist, but more so document your process selfishly. And if anyone happens to tune in and get inspired by that, that's a great byproduct or side effect of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, right? I sometimes struggle with that myself.
Yeah.
Not wanting to, potentially work with some brands or because it doesn't align fully with what I represent. But you want to pay your rent too, right? So it's like, it's tough, right? Because I don't want to sell out, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try to, I just try to keep it as organic as possible and try to be me through the whole process. And, I feel like I've built, my small following through people realizing that I mean what I say and that I'm just, I'm genuine, that's kind of what I've always tried to portray. So, and keep in mind.
Yeah. So if you're willing to share, what is your day job? What do you do? Are you still in retail at all?
No. So I actually have a corporate job. I work for General Motors.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's completely separate from what I do. I kind of fell into it after a couple of years in retail. I worked for Bonobos and I worked for Trunk Club, which was a subsidiary of Nordstrom once upon a time. Now it doesn't exist anymore from what I understand, but, I've been at General Motors for the past 4 years. So I work from home. So it's, it gives me a lot of flexibility,
Sure.
I think, to do what I do. So
if you can recall, when do you think Trunk Club folded? Because if I were to guess, is it because of the pandemic? Because people were home?
Yes.
Or a lot of remote working? You don't have to dress up anymore?
Exactly. I think that was a part of it. I kept in touch with some people who worked there after I left. And I think I left in, 2019, 2018. It maybe 2 years after that, 2 or 3 years after that, it folded, I think.
Oh, wow.
So,
were you a stylist there?
I was, yep.
Okay. Okay. And how was that different from Bonobos?
It was all online, right? So I didn't do much in person. So it's like I'm chatting with people, I'm putting together stuff online and sending it to them.
Okay.
So which is interesting because it's kind of similar to what I do with some of my clients now that are virtual.
Okay. Are these Zoom calls at least, or are they?
No,
phone calls?
At Trunk Club, it was literally all virtual. I'd be on the phone occasionally.
Yeah. So Zoom or?
No, not even no FaceTime.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
So like text, like you're just
Yeah,
like they're
it's like a chat.
Oh
Right?
my gosh.
Yeah. But it's, those are pretty extensive onboarding process where they filled in a lot of their lifestyle, their sizing, all that stuff. And, it was interesting. I was working mainly with women, and women's clothes. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Trunk Club was kind of primarily men.
It actually wasn't. It was very small amount men. So I primarily did women's clothing, which, wasn't the most fun for me, but it did give me a lot of brand knowledge, across the board too. So it was cool.
Well, that's interesting. There's so much more variety, almost to the point it's overwhelming.
Yeah, there's way too much variety for women. That's why I stick with menswear. Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there an environmental aspect that you're thinking about at all, like fast fashion type stuff?
Yeah, of course. I try to stay away from that as much as possible. If you look back from the very beginning, I've always been very conscious of promoting stuff that's high quality, that's going to last you for a long time, or secondhand. I'm a big, like I mentioned before, do a lot of eBay shopping. I think stuff was made better, once upon a time. And I try to I personally stay away from fast fashion as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't promote it.
Sure.
Really.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you recycle certain things, or is it very seasonal for you when you're trying to update your wardrobe? Do you give away old pieces then?
I do. I think especially now with me working with a lot of brands, it's I do have a lot of clothes, right? More than I ever have. So I give a lot of stuff to my dad. We're the same size. So it's funny. My mom she's like, where's my stuff at? But
and your dad's a fashionista now?
Yeah, I guess so. He's always been into clothes too, though.
Okay.
To a degree.
Okay.
So now he just gets a lot of stuff from me. So
very
we're
cool.
literally the same size shoe, same, it's everything. So it works out. And I try to give some stuff to my friends too. My fiance's little brother gets a lot of stuff too. So yeah.
Wow. the perks.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Where else can we take this conversation? It was only because of you that I was made aware of the local shop, Good Form, a shop that you have to make an appointment to take a peek at some of their stuff. So there's definitely this supply demand culture, this air of coolness to it.
I'll say that there is 100% a supply and demand thing. Like I mentioned before, vintage is like, I feel like it's more popular than it's ever been, right?
Yeah.
Secondhand, this idea of timelessness, which we spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
And you get that with all of these clothes that are old, and that are well preserved, right? And I think it's like with anything that's old and well preserved, there's a demand for it and there's a premium for it. Good Form, specifically, I'm pretty cool with the guy who owns it. I've known him for years since he moved to Chicago. He is a great dude, and he offers a really good product. It's, I think just the way it's like, it's cheaper for him to have,
that makes sense.
A warehouse
Yeah.
space as opposed to getting a storefront in West Loop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or in Wicker Park. Those are expensive, and it keeps, and I'm sure he has clients all over the world too. So it's like, he keeps some stuff to send to them, and it's like, it's
the pin post with Donald Glover.
Yeah, exactly. Like
so cool.
He gets some really cool people coming in there.
Okay.
And so yeah, I think people get confused with it being like pretentious or something, because it's really not. It's just him having full control over it.
Yeah.
He has open hours. So it's
similar. It's a similar culture to the vintage furniture.
100%.
And
Yep.
I felt like within the last couple of years, they all popped up. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
There's a market for this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think especially in Chicago, like there's so many vintage, I mean, not so many vintage furniture places, but there's quite a few that have that same idea.
Yeah.
And it is similar. So I think he probably, I'm sure he probably got it from there or something like that. So
and then like this, I don't know how do you feel about like building hype, or like where hype comes from, or if it's simply a supply demand type thing, but and then brand awareness. People like Joe Freshgoods, and the brand, I don't know if I'm saying this wrong, like Notre.
Notre, yeah.
Notre, how do you say it?
Notre,
yeah. So like when they partnered with like Matters of the Heart, and there's just lines around the corner for some of the stuff, and I guess I just don't get it. I don't know. It's like, where do you think that hype comes from? Where do you think that demand to want a piece? Is it a piece of history? Is it like what is it?
I think it's a bit of a piece of history, and the exclusivity factor, right? I think that's a bit of, what the fashion culture is. People want stuff that other people don't have, and whether you're, some people are resellers too, so they get something and will resell it. But I think now more than ever, people want something that people don't have, especially with the internet, right? It's the world is so small now with the internet, and it seems like everyone has the same stuff. So it's like you want that unique thing, and that's where, kind of tying it back into vintage. That's why vintage is so cool, because these pieces don't exist anymore. So it's like you're one of the only people with it, in that condition.
Isn't that interesting how like the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth?
It is. It really is. It is.
So, I mean, I know you agree with that sentiment, but like, do you buy into that sentiment, or do you just kind of like stay in your lane? I'm going to buy what I like wearing, and I'm not going to appease to any trend or any exclusivity type thing. I'm not trying to impress anyone.
I think, there's a level of, I want something that people don't have, of course, right?
Sure.
Inevitably, but I still try to stick to what I love. And, it's funny, like I was mentioning before, I get sent like a pretty good amount of stuff, right, from brands, but the stuff that I wear the most is stuff that I buy, you know what I mean? So I'm pretty particular about what I want. And, so yeah.
Okay. So how, when you first came across the opportunity to work with, was it first individuals or brands that started approaching you when you started making content?
Interestingly enough, it was individuals. That's when I first started, picking up steam with my content. Started on TikTok actually. I started getting a lot of clients. You know,
The conversion would come through TikTok, because usually it's like TikTok's for awareness, and then the actual conversion usually comes from Instagram.
Yeah, it's, you know, at the time I wasn't even posting on Instagram. I wasn't posting any videos on there, and it was all TikTok. So
Very cool.
I had a link in my bio that, you know, I still do that. You know, I can go through my personal styling consultations, and drew a pretty good amount of traffic from there.
Nice. And it didn't have to be local.
It didn't, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it virtually. We'd hop on a call and figure it out. So I do have some local clients too, which is, you know, I can actually get in their closet and help them out, you know, in person, which is helpful. But yeah, a lot of people trusted me to do it virtually, which has actually worked out too. So it's cool.
Who's the furthest that have reached out to you?
Nothing out of the country, but you know, California.
Yeah. And
coast.
there's kind of like different vibes, right? Do you kind of bring that into consideration, or is it kind of like, or is it just something you notice that, I know it's going to be very individualistic to that person, but do you notice that they want to look a certain way because they're at a certain location?
You know, I think so. You know, people want to fit in right where they are. But I do think that people come to me because I'm that balance of fitting in, but also, taking a second glance, you know, it's like, oh, that looks cool, you know, but it doesn't feel out of place, right? That's kind of what I try to do. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. It's looking put together, but not trying too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truly timeless. Like it's not like nothing's yelling at me, right?
Yeah.
But you can tell that there's like thought and intention behind it. So that being said, when was the, how did you navigate some of the first brands that came across your purview? Or after the individuals, were you seeking brands?
You know, it's funny. I have never done a much outreach to work with brands. You know, I don't. You know, it's awesome that people want to work with me, that brands want to, and that they see something into my type of content or in me. So it was kind of just natural. It started happening, and you know, I'd get emails from brands, and we'd do some stuff. I did a little bit of UGC in the beginning, to where I wasn't posting it on my page. It was just,
what's that? UGC.
So it's user generated content. So it's like me making content for them. So it's like it would just go on their page, and I wouldn't have to post it on mine.
Oh.
So that's kind of how I started.
Okay.
And then
did that convert well, or did that give them what they wanted? Or?
Yeah, I mean, they typically put ad dollars behind it anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Okay.
But so that was kind of like when I first started doing, and then brands like my TikToks, and then they would send me clothes to, you know, make content around, and there are plenty that I turned down because I didn't think it aligned with what I wanted.
Wow. So you had integrity from the very beginning.
I did, and like I said, it is getting harder, right? Because you know, it's hard turning down a lot of money, right? You know what I mean?
Wow.
And
like I'm sure there's a part of you like, how can I make this work?
Yeah. You know, I try to when it makes sense, but I still try to maintain that integrity. Like, if this isn't something that I would, you know, if I want my audience to wear, I shouldn't be promoting it. Well,
so reputation's hard to rebuild.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do keep that in mind. So, but yeah, it's been a cool experience. I have some really cool collaborations coming up that I'm like super excited about. You know, that I'm working on right now. So it's been honestly insane, the brands that have reached out to me. It's, you know, people that I've loved for years, and so yeah, it's really cool.
And what have you realized? Like the representatives on behalf of these brands, they're just so good at picking up on culture and how organic this, you know, for lack of a better term, content creator is, or this stylist is, and they would be very representative of our brand. You know, when I first realized that, it's like, I'm not thinking about a brand. I'm thinking about the gatekeeper to this brand.
Right.
If you were ever in a position to actively seek out additional brand deals. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It humanizes the brand in a way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's going forward, that's going to be so important for brands to make sure that they're picking people that really align with their brand and their customer. And not just like aimlessly picking influencers because they have a lot of followers, you know? So, and that's what I've seen. I think that I do align with a lot of people who reach out to me. So it's So it's cool. Yeah.
When did you realize that this content is worth more than just the merch they sent you?
Research and just getting, having conversations with them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this brand is willing to pay me this much. So that means my content's worth that much.
Collecting data over time.
Yeah. So I think that's when I realized it. And it's also, it's like, it gets to a point where it's like, I don't need any more clothes. So it's like, I'm not gonna, me making content around something you're not paying me for.
That's just going to sit there.
Yeah. And like organically, if a brand will send me something, be like, hey, you don't need to post about this, but we want you to have it. And it's good, I'll post about it anyway, right? Because I'll wear it.
Right.
Like this jacket that I'm wearing today, it's this guy, Matt. He runs a brand called With a Beginner's Mind out of LA.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And he was probably the first person that sent me something when I was on TikTok. And actually we made a collab post earlier this year and I talked about that, but he just makes good stuff. And it's like, I would post about it anyway. You know what I mean? Okay. So it's easy to talk about product when people are making good product. Cause I'm so into intentionality and quality and durability and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that made me think of Bobby Hundreds, and I heard that he closed up recently. He's going to come back with a different thing.
Okay,
but that's what I heard. But like when you first met Matt, like how was that interaction?
So we met online.
Yeah. Okay.
So he just shot me a DM and was like, "Hey, I want to send you some stuff. Like, I think you would like it." And I did. I loved it. I wear it all the time. Everything he sent me, I wear it all the time. It's made its way into my the rotation of stuff that I wear myself all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And I wonder, you've previously said not really, but like in the sense of not really actively seeking brand partnerships, but have there been people or brands that you have wanted to work with that you might even DM?
I think so. Yes. There are definitely some that I haven't worked with yet that I would love to, in some capacity. And, I think DMing is tough, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's, I would take the chance. I have taken the chance and DM'd a couple people before, which has actually worked out. So, so it kind of just depends.
Yeah, I agree. I have definitely been the victim of being ghosted, but I have definitely I have definitely ghosted other people. Not intentionally. It's just, you maybe read the message and then just gets lost in the weeds.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yep.
But yeah, I wonder if like over time you've learned kind of, it might not be in a DM, but turning a cold DM into a warm DM, it's just like establishing rapport, just be a human. And,
absolutely.
And, show them that you're around. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there'll eventually be maybe this, if your work is that good, this mutual respect.
Absolutely. Right. So yeah, I mean, I'm so lucky that there hasn't been I've been super busy with working with brands. So it's I haven't wanted to reach out a ton, you know what I mean? Just because I don't have a ton of time either, you know what I mean? So
I have been thinking about the term busyness a lot recently too, in the sense of a lot of people wear it as a badge for pride of like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm busy. Like it's a good thing. And in the book I'm reading, one of the statements that I read recently was like how something about like productivity leads to just being more busy. Like all these productivity hacks that we're trying to consume and implement into our lives just ends up controlling our lives. And the things that we're building that we hope that can lead to more freedom end up controlling us.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that. I just had on Friday, I had the busiest day ever, and I was extremely overwhelmed. Had to shoot a lot of videos, work, and I'm trying to learn that it's a balance, especially having a full-time job and trying to make content for myself, and then also for brands. It's a lot to balance, and it's not always good to be super busy because it can get overwhelming. But yeah, I think finding a balance is the best way to go about it, which I'm trying to do. So
I haven't done a huge scroll on your page, but like I can just see you just like sipping on a glass of wine or at a coffee shop, and that's just a vessel to showcase the fit. It doesn't have to be in the bedroom, you know? Do you think about that at all? Like different vessels to showcase that fit?
Yeah, you know,
and you become a lifestyle like kind of creator rather than just a stylist.
Sure. I do things, right? Me and my fiance.
Yes, you do have a life.
Right. So I try to incorporate it as much as possible. Me and my fiance love to go to wine bars or go to coffee shops. Probably too much coffee shops, but yeah, we love hanging out and working from other places and seeing all this incredible city we live in has to offer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to do a mix and try to show that I'm like a real person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do stuff. So.
Wow. Okay. So speaking of the engagement, do you have the fit already planned for your big day?
I don't yet. No, I don't. I'm thinking about it, but I'm probably just gonna do something classic, like a black tux. So.
Black tux. Do you have like a person in mind or a brand in mind?
I
got one for you, but I don't want to unsolicit
No, for sure.
Pass it on.
I mean, in a perfect world, I'd get something from Ralph Lauren, but
okay.
But something custom would be cool.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll he's a friend of the pod, and he's opening up his second location.
Okay.
His name is Go Wang.
Okay.
He went to Notre Dame, and he was the shop's name is ESQ. He's the first one's in the Loop. The first location's in the Loop.
Okay, cool.
And it fits like a glove.
Yeah.
But what was special is my fiance at the time wrote something, and I didn't see what she wrote until the wedding day, and he stitched it on the inner lining, on the inner side of the jacket, and my middle initial is MF, and it's not motherfucking, but it's like she wrote my favorite, and I was like,
that's cute.
And the other thing that he did, and it could have been up to you, it could have been just patterns, but he printed our engagement photo on the inner lining.
Oh wow! Okay.
So like you take off the jacket, that's the engagement photo.
Very cool.
So Go Wang ESQ. If you say the pod sent you, he'll hook it up.
Okay, cool.
But Go's good people. And that's another thing. The first time I got fitted for a suit, what an experience! And I'm sure you learned that at such an early time at Bonobos, and you probably carry that forward when you have your own clients these days.
Yeah.
Curating, like how is that? Like, does someone walk away like, I want to be Jabari's friend now. Like, this guy knows me now inside and out. He knows a lot about my life, and he's helped me express it in this aesthetic way.
Yeah, I think it's the first time that I got fitted in a suit, it's for me it was like kind of like a suit of armor, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like something that fits you that well. It's made just for you. It's a pretty cool experience, and I love giving that to people. Mm-hmm. I want people to feel great when they leave, from working with me. That's my goal. I want them to be more confident, go into the world, feeling better about themselves and feeling confident. And that's probably the most rewarding thing about it, to be completely honest. I love helping people feel better. You know what I mean?
So similar to podcasting, are there certain questions that you ask that tease out certain aspects of their lifestyle that you obviously want to know, but when they talk about these things in their life, there's this air of vulnerability that is kind of like a crash course in friendship of like, I feel like we're friends now because I told you this stuff.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because it's very true. You have to understand all this stuff about someone before you build a wardrobe for them. Because, you have to figure out what they're self-conscious about on their body or something. What they like to do for fun, what their day-to-day looks like, what they do for work.
Yeah.
How they want to feel at work, and when they go these places. So you really have to kind of dive deep, and so you can really get a sense of what they're looking for and give them that, that perfect wardrobe for them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Speaking of kind of trends, like, is there anything that you see that's gonna? I know vintage is coming back and things like that, but like, is there anything else that you're excited about? And maybe it could be colors, it could be denim, it could be. I know there was like one blog about like skinny jeans and wide trousers. Like, is there anything like that you're excited to see or see come to life?
I wouldn't say that I get too excited about trends, because I try to stay in my own lane, and in some capacity I am trendy, right? Because I pay attention to it, and I feel like I just contradicted myself, but I do pay attention to trends, but I try to toe that line of having my own thing and incorporating trends in small doses,
right.
because I think it's cool. Like I think being of the times is fun, sometimes to dip your toe into trends, but I don't build my entire wardrobe about it because that's very, in my opinion, irresponsible. But and I try to explain that to my clients, that you want to build something that's going to last and you're going to love forever. But going back to your question, I think that I'm excited that ginormous jeans are going away. They look kind of silly sometimes. I do, I wear baggy jeans, but not like something that's like overly excessive. I think that's kind of young for me, at least.
So if the jeans in your last post were a little longer, they would have been perfect?
They would have. Yes,
okay.
They would have.
It was a nice fit.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, they were a little tight too, but that's the risk you take shopping on eBay sometimes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Gotta get your measurements perfectly. So yeah, hit or miss,
Okay. Wow. That's so like with, would you describe, like what we wear, like styling, as the 4 seasons? Like, would you have a different wardrobe for every season, or is it more, hot and cold?
I think that's part of the reason I love living in Chicago, right? I like having seasons. I like being able to wear sweaters, and which you can wear lighter sweaters like if you live in California because it gets cold at night. But I think just having a wide array of stuff, right? I like being able to have different uses for different pieces. In a perfect world, I'll live by the beach one day and also live in the city, which I don't know how I'll accomplish that, but we'll see. I like that juxtaposition of having stuff that you can use for, I can wear like this Oxford button down to the beach, or like with my swim shorts, and I can also wear it with my chinos and loafers. And I think the coolest people find use out of all of their wardrobe and can have it in different settings and make it look cool. That's what people love Ralph Lauren. He was able to accomplish that. He looked cool all the time, and he used stuff in different ways than we expected, and that's what I love about being able to express yourself through clothes. So yeah, having variety, being able to use it multiple ways is the coolest thing for me.
Yeah. Would you say you don't like certain pieces can be reworn like the following year as well?
Yeah, 100%. I think my goal, and what I try to do for my clients is kind of counterintuitive, right? I want them to not have to come back to me next year because they love their stuff that much and they don't need to rebuy it unless they buy another color of it, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's important to wear your stuff for multiple seasons and buy with that intentionality that you're going to love it in a couple of years.
Yeah. It's interesting. The school of thought of like minimalism is like to not put as much brain activity into what you're going to wear. But maybe if you front loaded some of that thought and then you just have certain staples in your closet, you're not, I wouldn't think you would spend too much time like, what am I going to wear today? Is it pretty quick?
Yes and no. I think that in my day-to-day life, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward because, I'm not in front of a camera all day, right? So it's like, I like to be comfortable and just wear pieces that I love. And that's mainly something vintage, comfortable pair of jeans or sweats or something. And I keep it pretty simple, and honestly, my outfits that I actually post, I keep it pretty simple too. And I think it's just, making it simple for yourself is super important, and buying a wardrobe that's kind of cohesive. And then, like I mentioned before, if you are into trends, like dipping your toe in, buying a piece or two a season. And then if it makes its way into your permanent wardrobe, great. If not, give it to a friend, sell it. I think that's the best way to go about it. You should have fun when you get dressed. I think, We should always keep that in mind because it's not that serious, right? It's just clothes. But you should have fun, but you also don't want to have to spend too much brain power on it, you know? So you want something that feels cohesive. But a couple fun pieces is cool, you know?
Okay, I agree. And do you, when like you're walking down the street, do you pick up on that, or do you feel like that's just too judgy? Like you're observant, but not too, like we can be observant, but and not judgmental.
Yeah, I think that. How do I answer this? So, I think that I'm super observant because I have to be, because I like seeing what people wear and why they wear it, and you know, kind of being immersed in the creative scene in Chicago. I see some people that dress really cool and I wonder why they do it. So, you know, we get in conversations about it and stuff. You know, I think it's finding that I'm curious, right? That's always what I am. I'm curious why people wear what they wear.
Have you ever gotten answers to that curiosity?
No, not necessarily. You know, everyone's answer is different, right? Because, you know, some people, it's interesting. Some of the coolest dressed people don't even care about clothes, you know? You know, they are like, you know, if they're like an artist or something, and it's like, I care about this art, but like I thrifted all these pieces and I just put them together this way because that's all I got. I don't know.
It's interesting how subjective cool can be.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you know, if you ask a lot of people in the fashion community, right, there's some of the coolest people didn't have, or if you look back at history, let me say that some of the coolest people that we look up to now didn't have the internet, right? They're just living their life, right? Yeah. And they get inspired by what they see on the streets, and we look back to their photos like, my gosh, they look so cool, you know? When were they trying to be cool? Probably, but they didn't have the level of information we have now and all the inspiration that we have now. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
That can be overwhelming, the amount of information we have.
Oh, it's overwhelming.
And to like condense it all and then remind yourself like to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. And this, who am I trying to impress? And it should be no one but yourself.
Absolutely. You know, I think there's a balance to that, right? Because I get caught in, I like looking well, or I like looking good. That's kind of what I always try to keep at the forefront of my mind. Yeah. It's like, I like looking good. I like dressing well. It's a part of my identity. And, you know, keeping in mind that you don't have to impress other people, but at the same time, you know, it's a first impression too, you know.
And you're towing it because now you're a creator. Now you're putting out, you're not relying on people to like it, but it's reminding yourself that people like you as well. Yeah,
and you know, maybe that is part of it, which is cool. But yeah, I guess. But yeah, I try to be pretty neutral about it, I guess.
It's so meta in the sense of like, I think you'll get to a point where people like your thing because they like you so much.
Yeah.
And then that fucks with your head. It's just like, wait, so do you not like the thing? And you just like me? Yeah. Like, what the
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And I guess I've never thought about it that way. But maybe that is the case too.
Cool by association, which you know, it's what a great place to be in. Has this creator opportunity like open certain doors outside of brand deals for you? Like, have you been able to have certain conversations or just be plugged into the culture per se?
Yeah, and that's, you know, one of the most interesting things for me too. I talk to, you know, my business partner who I'm making the clothes with about this all the time, because he is just as nerdy about this stuff as I am. You know, certain people that follow me now, and it's like, I've been following you for like years, you know, and it's like, you know, I've gotten into conversation with some people that I've looked up to and looked up to the career, you know. So that's been a pretty cool thing too. You know, there's a level of social capital tied to making content, right? Because my ideas are out there and like people can see what I'm actually about. And if they resonate with it, you know, even if they're established already, it's cool to like be able to connect with them. That's been such a cool thing.
It's interesting where we derive our sources of validation.
Yeah.
And like, why do we put the people that we put on pedestals? Like, why does that person deserve to be on a pedestal? It's interesting. It's like, but then again, on the other side of that spectrum, we should probably only accept criticism from the people that are in the arena with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I completely agree with that because, for one, I don't like to put people on a pedestal because like we're all humans, right? We're all trying to do something in some capacity. But
pedestal in the sense of when someone gives a compliment, sometimes these compliments can mean more coming from certain people.
Yeah, that's true. I really, going back to what you said about stoicism, I don't think I practice stoicism in the traditional sense, but I keep a level head about everything. It's like, okay, like this is cool, but like, I still got to keep moving forward. Like the work's not done yet. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I always keep in mind. It's been awesome to connect with people, that are interested in the same thing as me. And I do, take their opinion because they've done it, right? It's people that have been in the industry for a long time. They have extremely valid knowledge on it. I just interviewed a couple of people for my Substack that I really look up to. And then that it was awesome to get the chance to even like email correspond with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What opportunities have they been able to navigate if they're further along in the journey?
It's more, I'll say specifically for this thing, my article is about just creating a brand and your personal brand.
Okay.
And I'm not going to dive too much in because I haven't put it out yet, but it's they gave me valuable advice on how they've built what they've built.
Okay.
And one of these people have been in the business for almost 30 years. She has an extremely successful brand with no outside funding.
As a stylist?
No, she owns a clothing brand.
Okay.
And she's been able to build this thing, bootstrap it with no outside funding and create this really cool thing that's huge. And the two other ones are smaller. They're newer, been around for a couple of years, but they're still really successful. So just getting that advice from them, for myself and for my audience, right? I think it's cool to like, interview people that have done cool stuff. You know what I mean?
This is why we do what we do.
Yeah, exactly. So
how long, I think I saw the Substack. How long have you been doing that for, writing for?
Yeah. So I started it maybe middle of last year,
okay.
or maybe late last year, but I've really dove into it this year. I'm really consistent at it. I put out 1 or 2 posts every week.
What has it been an outlet for?
Longer form thoughts.
Okay.
All of my content is scripted for the most part because I'm constantly writing stuff down that I see, that I think about. I'm like, oh, this is a cool idea. And how can I expand on this and make it my own, or, whatever it is. And writing has been like a way for me to put it all out there without that I don't have to condense into a minute or 30, a minute and a half, 30 seconds.
Do you ever make trailers of it?
What do you mean?
Like Instagram Reels that like leads to a Substack?
I do, yeah. And I've started to do that now. I want to be able to do both.
Yeah.
Because I want to live on both platforms.
Yeah. There's value in, but there's purpose to both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, writing's been cool. It's something that's new to me, but I'm trying to find my voice and, again, provide value, which is what I'm all about. So,
I haven't met this individual. He was a well-known food critic, I believe for the Sun Times.
Okay.
And as these like written kind of vessels kind of disappear, he migrated to Substack. And but with that, if you're trying to make a career out of this, you're kind of reliant on subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I personally try to diversify, right? I'm on, I do TikTok, Instagram, and Substack, and maybe YouTube one day. So I think as a creator now, as we saw with TikTok, potentially going away,
right?
It's important to diversify and not be fully reliant on one platform. And that's what I'm trying to do with Substack. It's a completely, majority of the people who subscribe to my Substack come from Substack.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. So it's very like the For Your Feed page is like pretty explorative. Like you can stumble into awesome pages.
Yeah, and it suggests stuff based off what you restack and like. And, so it's been cool. I've made some connections on there too. So it's cool. I really
think you can you can be a whole lifestyle page. Like there's this individual in Chicago that just like would showcase the records he's listening to, or just simply like make his bed. And it's just like, people love that. People
Yeah.
just love like the mundane and the everyday
Yep.
and the good vibes.
Yeah.
And then you happen to be in a good fit, and it's
Yeah.
just like, wait, but what's Jabari wearing? And just like, but
Yeah.
it's through the lens of something unexpected and mundane, and you're not, that even adds that extra layer of, I'm not selling this fit. It's just,
Absolutely.
I happen to be wearing this
Yeah.
fit.
And I'd love to get into more lifestyle stuff as well. It's it's hard documenting your whole day and stuff like that. But absolutely, I agree with you. It would be cool to move into that as well, just to have my style kind of not always be at the forefront,
Right. Yeah.
and just show like day-to-day stuff. That'd be cool.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to put out there that we haven't shared? It's been at the forefront of your mind, or things that you're excited about?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much got to a lot of stuff. So
Do you think Chicago will be home forever? You said beach. What type of beach? What beach are we talking about?
I mean, San Diego, man, that'd be great. My fiance and I are like beach bums. We'll go there.
Oh, okay.
If we go on vacation, we'll be on the beach for like 90% of the time we're there. It's crazy. But
Not Hawaii then?
Hawaii would be cool. I probably want to be stateside though.
Oh, okay.
Once I start to grow a family too, it's important for me to be around my family. So I think we'll always have Chicago be home, but
Yeah.
if we could have another place in like California or on the East Coast or something, that'd be cool. So
Yeah. That's all I had. I appreciate your time.
Of course.
I will be tuning in. Like I said, I probably wear this probably 4 or 5 days out of the week.
Sure.
It's a, what is it? Marine layer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marine layer,
So
nice.
it's like, it's a very recent thing for me to like spend more than $100 on a piece.
Yeah.
But I don't cringe anymore, because like I know that these pieces will be around for a while.
Yep.
And I guess I'm learning to appreciate quality over quantity.
Yep.
But I think I'm in the middle of like, I probably go shopping once every 3 years, honestly, but then I wear it for like almost every day.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Where can, I'll provide all the links, but if someone's listening, where can people find you if they're not following you?
Jabari Sandifer, just Jabari, Jabari Sandifer on everything. TikTok,
Okay.
Instagram, Jabari-Sandifer.com.
Are you still balling these days?
Nah, no balling.
No balling?
No balling.
Not even for fun?
I go shoot around every once in a while.
Okay.
I still love to watch it. And I watch a lot of NBA in college still. So
Okay.
hopefully my son loves basketball. So we'll see.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We will catch you in the next episode. Bye.